Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna go over Priority Pass. Now, with the world being back open and so much travel happening in 2022, a lot of people are looking for ways to improve the travel experience. Now, a great way to do that, end up getting yourself lounge access. Now, if you happen to be loyal to a specific airline, such as United, American, or Delta, there's ways to get yourself lounge access with those different airlines, either purchasing passes, purchasing memberships, getting yourself a specific credit card, or getting yourself a business class flight with these airlines specifically for their business class lounges. But say you happen to not be loyal to any of these specific airlines and you still actually want to get yourself lounge access, well, the best way to end up doing that would end up being to get yourself Priority Pass. So first, let's go over what is Priority Pass. Priority Pass is a lounge network that has over 1,300 lounges that are connected with it across the globe. Now, Priority Passes vary very widely. I've been to some that have been incredibly nice and also some that have been just a step up from being at the chairs outside of your gate. But typically what you're gonna get yourself at a Priority Pass lounge is going to be a nice, comfortable seat to sit in, extra space and a desk if you need it for work. You're going to get yourself food and drinks. There's going to be typically a family room and then also a quiet room if you need to make calls. Now, how do you access Priority Pass lounges? Well, there's gonna be a couple of different ways that I'm gonna go over in this video. The first way is going to be if you just purchase it on their website. They're gonna give you 3 different options to purchase it. The first option is gonna be the standard option. Now, the standard option typically costs $99, and what you end up getting with this is just the ability to actually access Priority Pass lounges. Now, it's gonna still cost you $35 to get in and also a $35 guest fee if you wanna bring in guests. But this is what you're gonna get with the standard option. Now, with the standard plus option, it typically ends up costing $299. What you end up getting with this is going to be 10 free passes, and that ends up being $35 each time you wanna go in after that. And the guest fee is still gonna end up being $35. And then the last option is gonna be the prestige option. Prestige option is usually $429, and then it ends up giving you unlimited access to Priority Pass lounges. Guest fees are still gonna end up being $35. So that's the way to get Priority Pass by using their website, but that's not the way that I recommend getting it. The best way to end up getting Priority Pass is going to be with getting a credit card that gives you Priority Pass access. Now, there are a bunch of different credit cards out there that give you access to Priority Pass. I'm not gonna name every single one in this video, but I'll go over a few of them from different banks. So with Chase, you can be looking at getting it with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and also the Ritz-Carlton card, which isn't a card you can apply for, but you can product change to it if you happen to have a Chase Marriott credit card. American Express also gives you Priority Pass access if you end up having their American Express Platinum card, also with some of their Hilton cards and a Marriott card. With Citibank, you can get Priority Pass access if you happen to have the Prestige card. Now, this card isn't available to apply for or to even product change to. So if you happen to already have the card, you can get yourself Priority Pass lounge access. But if you don't, then unfortunately you won't be able to get it with Citibank with this card. Now, with Capital One, you can end up getting it with the Venture X card. With Bank of America, they have the Premium Rewards Elite, and with US Bank, they have the Altitude card. Now, just getting these credit cards does not immediately give you Priority Pass lounge access. Once you get these cards, you do have to enroll to actually get yourself lounge access. Now, I've read too many stories where people end up getting one of these cards, showing up to a Priority Pass lounge, and then thinking they can get in, and then they end up being angry at the person at the front desk because they didn't actually enroll, not knowing it's actually required to get lounge access. Now, each bank has a different way to enroll. I did mine with American Express, and it was very easy to do it through their website. But once you're actually done enrolling, what's gonna happen is they actually end up sending you a Priority Pass card. And you're gonna have to use this card to actually access Priority Pass lounges. So you bring this card with you to your Priority Pass lounge that you're going to, and then hand this to them along with your ID and then also your boarding pass, and then this will allow you to access that Priority Pass lounge. Just know that it is very important to keep this card with you, because even if you do end up enrolling, there is a way you can end up doing it through the app, and I guess also you can end up having it set up with your credit card after you end up enrolling, but I don't know of that being 100%. What I do know is that if you end up going to a Priority Pass lounge with this card, you're going to be able to get in if there ends up being space. So what I like to do is I just leave this card in my travel backpack. So whenever I end up going to the airport, end up going to a Priority Pass lounge, I just take this out, hand this over to the front desk person, and then put it back in my backpack. This card never leaves my backpack other than for that reason, because I don't need to use it outside of the regular world. So some people like to put it in their wallet and then they end up getting frustrated because how much space it takes up. I say just put this into the backpack you travel with all the time, because you're always gonna be using this when you're traveling. Even though there are many cards that give you Priority Pass lounge access, not all of them are gonna give you the same privileges with Priority Pass. So say you happen to get Priority Pass lounge access with the card that I got it with, which was the American Express Platinum card, you can end up getting unlimited access to lounges. However, what you can't end up getting is the credit that you end up getting to restaurants that are connected with Party Pass. If you end up getting something like the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, that card actually gives you Party Pass restaurant access as well, which means that if you end up using this card at a restaurant that's connected with Party Pass, you actually gonna get yourself a credit towards eating at that restaurant for you and the guests you also brought in. So this can end up being a great benefit, and the reason why people will actually like having the Chase Sapphire Reserves Party Pass over something like the American Express Platinum's Party Pass. But American Express Platinum Party Pass is actually gonna give you unlimited access, whereas something like the Hilton Surpass credit card is only gonna give you 10 passes throughout the year. Now 10 passes is actually, I think, more than enough for a lot of people, but just know that you'd only get yourself a limited amount with that card as compared to getting yourself something like the American Express Platinum card. Now also, depending on which card you end up getting your Party Pass with, will make a difference between the amount of guests you can bring, and then also when it comes to authorized users and how they can end up getting more access to Party Pass that way. So if you happen to get, for instance, the Capital One Venture X card, you can actually give out free authorized user cards with this card, and then the people who end up getting these authorized user cards of the Venture X can actually end up getting themselves their own Party Pass. So that can end up being absolutely awesome and definitely incredibly beneficial. And then something like the Ritz-Carlton card, you can actually get yourself unlimited guests who can actually come with you. So if you happen to be someone who's like a family of 7, then getting the Ritz-Carlton card to have Party Pass lounge access for when you're traveling can end up being incredibly beneficial. Or using the Venture X card to give Party Pass to your spouse for free as being an authorized user can also really help out large families. Now the Venture X card did just recently remove the ability to use the restaurants with their Party Pass card, which has actually angered a lot of people, which I can completely understand, because if you end up having this benefit when you end up getting this card, to get the benefit removed can end up being quite frustrating. However, for myself, I am very happy with my Party Pass card with the American Express Platinum card, because although I don't get the restaurant access, I've been very happy with the food and drinks that I've been able to get at the other Party Pass lounges. So while it stinks to lose those benefits, I still think that having just Party Pass lounge access by itself ends up being incredibly valuable. Now, say you happen to have multiple cards that end up giving you Party Pass, what I would say to do is enroll in all of them. And what you also should do is actually label the different cards for which one is actually the Party Pass specifically for that card. Because what can end up happening is if you end up having a card that ends up giving you restaurant access, something like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but then all of a sudden you end up having the Venture X card that is going to be removing it, you end up using the Party Pass from the Venture X card at that restaurant, you're going to end up getting charged on your Venture X card, because all of these Party Pass cards are linked to your credit card. So it's good to label them, but I wouldn't say to just throw away the card that ends up not being as valuable to you, because you never know if you end up either downgrading that Chase Sapphire Reserve or just completely getting rid of the card, and you still actually want to have yourself lounge access. So it's good to keep all the Party Pass cards, but just label them, because I have heard stories of people who have had multiple of them and then accidentally used one of the wrong ones and end up getting charged because they didn't actually have either restaurant access, or maybe they happen to have multiple Hilton cards and they went over the 10 passes and didn't realize which one they went over with as compared to the other one. And once you end up getting one of these credit cards, enrolling for a Party Pass, and then getting yourself your Party Pass card, how do you end up finding where these lounges are? Well, Party Pass actually does have an app that you can end up using that allows you to see where their Party Pass lounges are going to be and which airports they end up being at. Now, for me, I typically actually like to use my American Express app to actually look to see which lounges that I can access, because I found it to be incredibly user-friendly and it allows me to know the different rules for the Party Pass. So it is good to look at to see what is actually going to be required to actually get into that Party Pass lounge. Normally, it ends up being 3 hours before your actual departure is when you can actually get in. But on some lounges, I actually don't see that as a specific requirement. So I'm not sure if that actually ends up being something that you have to do before actually end up accessing it. But I just have found the American Express app to be quite easy. If you just end up going under membership and then going under lounge network, you'll end up actually seeing all the different lounges at the airport you're at. And if you actually want to search a certain location, you can end up seeing, if you end up flying to, say, Boston, the different lounges you end up seeing that are available over there. There's something very important to know, is that just because you happen to have a Party Pass card doesn't mean you're guaranteed to actually get in. So many people have actually been getting themselves Party Pass cards due to credit cards allowing you to get this as a perk, and it has made a lot of these lounges become incredibly overcrowded. There's been a couple of times this year where I've actually went to Party Pass lounges and I wasn't able to actually get into that specific lounge. They would tell me that the wait would end up being like 90 minutes or so, which is way too long. Now, for me, I've actually been able to find other lounges that were in Party Pass that I was able to go to instead, but sometimes there only end up being one Party Pass lounge you're trying to get into, and then it just might end up being overcrowded. So know that if you end up going to a Party Pass lounge, you're not going to be guaranteed to get in. If you end up going at a popular time and a lot of people end up having this card, then unfortunately there might be a chance where you're just not going to be able to get into that lounge. Now, is Party Pass worth it? I would say absolutely. Now, I would not recommend purchasing it on their site. I think that these options that are out there are not competitive as compared to what you end up getting from the credit cards. Now, if you end up getting reimbursed from a company you're working for getting Party Pass through their site, then I guess that way can end up making sense. Or if you happen to not have the ability to get yourself US credit cards, then maybe it can end up making sense getting it on their site. But the best way to end up getting it is going to end up being to get it with one of these credit cards. Now, depending on you and your situation, it's going to determine which credit card you end up getting for getting Party Pass lounge access. If you're someone who ends up having a big family, it can make a lot of sense to end up getting something like the Venture X card with Capital One, because you can end up getting yourself a lot of Party Pass if you end up making someone else be an authorized user. Or if you want to have access to the restaurants and the spa with Party Pass, then get yourself something like the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, I do think that it makes most sense to get Party Pass if you are someone who's a frequent traveler. I'm talking about going on maybe 5 trips a year. Now, if you are someone who doesn't happen to go on that many, but you still want to have lounge access, then I guess it can still make sense for you. But I don't think it would make sense to get yourself one of these premium cards. Getting something just like the Hilton Surpass card that only has a $95 annual fee will get you 10 passes to Priority Pass. This can end up being way more than enough, I think, for most people when it comes to having lounge access. Now, my honest feeling about the Priority Pass network is that I think that it's absolutely awesome. Being able to get this as a perk with my American Express Platinum card, I think is an incredible benefit to have. Now, if you end up getting yourself TSA PreCheck, which a lot of the cards that I named on this list end up having as a perk as well, if you end up combining these two, you have the option of either showing up to the airport maybe a little bit later and then speeding through the security line because you end up having TSA PreCheck and then going right to your gate. Or if you want to, you can end up showing up a little bit earlier and then going over to the Priority Pass lounge and then just sitting back and then getting yourself some drinks and food, being comfortable just before you end up going off on your journey. I love having this option. A lot of times when I end up flying out of my home airport, I typically don't end up using lounges, so I just show up to the airport later and then end up just walking right to my gate and then being off on my way. But when I end up flying from airports that I'm not familiar with and coming back home, a lot of times I like to show up to the airport early just to make sure everything goes smoothly. I mean, there's been times where I've shown up and they actually don't accept TSA PreCheck. There's been times that I've shown up where it just ends up taking a really long time to get through the lines. Any of these things, whatever the issues can end up being, I like to show up early, especially at foreign airports, and then I like to be able to just chill in the lounge and then just be comfortable before I end up coming back home. But if you are a frequent traveler, I think that it makes a lot of sense to get yourself a credit card that has Priority Pass to really help improve your travel experience. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do happen to have any questions, drop them down in the comment section down below and I'll do the best I can to answer them. If you happen to really like this video, then please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.